Hello and welcome, friends, to our first teaching of today's online retreat. My name is Venerable Tarpa. Before we begin, let's take a moment to appreciate our handsome and wonderful community gathered here today. Today, I feel fortunate to sit as a member of this kind community in the safety and security of like-minded friends, sharing this present moment with others dedicated to the cultivation of goodness. Today, I'm grateful for the direction and support that this community provides, a community worthy of my time and commitment, a community where my efforts have meaning, purpose, and are appreciated. Today, I'm thankful for this community of awakening, a place to gain the knowledge and skills to improve my life, a family, a home, and a sanctuary for all of us seeking refuge from the storm. And let's remember, as conscientious practitioners, we must recognize our responsibility to the world, to strive to live skillfully while helping others to do the same, to strive to live in balance and harmony with nature and others, to strive to gain mastery over our minds and embody our true benevolent nature, to expand our hearts and minds, transcending our shared human limitations, to not intentionally harm sentient life or our planet, to maturely accept and embrace the reality of our situation while striving to improve it. Again, welcome to our class. This is the first teaching of today's online retreat. In today's teaching, I wanted to talk about developing single-pointed concentration. So over the last few weeks, I've been getting a lot of requests and messages from practitioners that they've been having trouble creating or developing this idea of single-pointed concentration. Basically, single-pointed concentration means being able to hold the mind single-pointedly without distraction upon an object. And in most cases, the object is our breath. We're all familiar with this. And of course, this is the goal of calm abiding meditation. It's to focus on the breath or a similar object and to be able to stay on that without distraction. And what that does is it limits the thinking mind, and it gets the thinking mind to diminish, and we could be one in the moment. And I do have to mention my barking dogs before I get into this teaching. I'm babysitting a great big pit bull in the next room, and I'm afraid to open the door. I'm just teasing. It's a very nice dog. But I also have neighbors moving in across the way. So every time the neighbors walk by, the dogs bark. I hope it's not too loud. My apologies. Anyways, achieving calm abiding is a challenge for most people. And this idea of developing the single-pointed concentration where we can stay unwavering upon wherever we decide to put our mind is a distinct challenge. And I would go out on a limb and I would assert that quite possibly this is more of a challenge now than it was in the past, because our busyness, our speediness is one of the things that really gets in the way and prevents us from attaining this. And as our minds get faster and busier, it's harder for us to transverse the distance between those. So we have our regular mind, and that's busy, that's occupied, that's thinking, and then at some point we want to do meditation, and we bring our minds down into this meditative state. Well, that's quite a distance to traverse. I imagine in the old days when life was really simple, that the two levels were much closer together. Not much of a difference between sitting on a rock in the middle of the field in the Bronze Age and meditating. But nowadays, it's a huge difference, and our minds are so fast. And so I think it makes sense that people are really struggling to be able to calm their minds and develop single-pointed meditation. The point of the teaching is I wanted to give you some more skills to do that. And I think the place to look is in our Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is the fourth of the Four Noble Truths, which I'm sure all of you have studied. But within the Eightfold Path, the last three items are related to this exact topic. And I think that a lot of people don't know that or don't see that. At least in my case, when I was a younger student, I didn't necessarily see how clearly there's meditation instructions within this. And so, and what I mean by that is the last three of the Eightfold Path are right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And I should probably know all the others: right view, right thought, right action, right speech, right livelihood. Maybe that's what we have. I'd probably be missing one there. But nevertheless, the last three: right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These are predominantly related to meditation practice itself. And and the secret to it is right effort. This is the one that I think is most overlooked in people's practice and the least talked about in teachings. In the Tibetan tradition, who don't put a lot of emphasis on the Eightfold Path, as Mahayana practitioners, they seem to supplement it with or trade the six perfections instead. But right effort, I was taught, was just bringing some energy to all your practices, and just to the path itself, having a proper amount of energy towards what you do. But in the Theravada tradition, it's different. They see this as related specifically to meditation, and right effort means to put some actual effort into our meditation. So I think most of us fall into the habit of being passive meditators. And we've done videos on this before, and we had this funny kind of thing. We talked about a difference between meditation and vegetation. It was meant as a joke, right? Vegetation. But the idea is correct, that a lot of us go into meditation in a very passive way. And yeah, they try to stay focused on the breath, kind of, but most of the time, their mind is in charge. Their mind's dragging them all over. If the mind is busy, then that's the style of meditation. In a sense, they're just kind of passengers in the vehicle. They're not really driving. Right effort implies that you're going to put a little bit more strength in your will. That you have the ability to say no to the mind. And that instead of getting into meditation, and your meditation is going to be relevant to that style of mind, and there's not much you can do about it. Instead here, it's about saying no to it, and just saying that, that's not good enough. And that by putting more effort in, that I can circumvent that busyness or that laziness. Now, we do it in a very soft, gentle way. We don't force the mind. But nevertheless, you're not stuck with your mindset. You could do something about it. And so the last three, they play into each other. Right effort, or we could say right strength, or strength of will, right, is used to create right mindfulness, the next step. Now, right mindfulness in this case of meditation, is kind of the supervisor mind, or some people call it the gatekeeper. This mind is the one that watches our meditation. It's discerning into how am I applying my techniques? What is my object of meditation? It keeps an eye on your posture. It's what catches your mind when it starts thinking, and it's what brings our mind back again, right? Mindfulness is kind of that guy that's in charge when we're meditating. And then, so through right effort, we can create a stronger mindfulness that has a greater sense of will, that can say no to the busy mind, like it's a naughty child, and get it to sit still. This then leads to the last step, which is right concentration. Concentration here is short for single-pointed concentration. And in Pali, the expression would be samadhi, right? Samadhi. So samadhi is a meditative state. So it's not simply being single-minded or having single-pointed concentration, because oftentimes in life we can have single-pointed concentration. The best example is when you go to a movie, and especially when the scary or exciting parts comes up, you look around the movie theater, everybody is fixed on that screen. Their eyes are big. They're sitting up straight in their chairs. That's single-pointed concentration. But that's not samadhi, right? Samadhi comes with it this sense of awareness. And the first taste of samadhi is simply becoming present within self-awareness, knowing that you're present within the present moment. But then samadhi can grow into much deeper states like stillness and equanimity, and leading all the way up to the jhana states themselves. You could even consider nirvana a state of samadhi. So samadhi is a very specific type of single-pointed concentration. And so these three together are three tools that work together. That is a very traditional way for those people who are having troubles focusing their mind in meditation. And that monkey mind, we call it the monkey mind because it just won't sit still, right? It just grasps at every thought that comes by, and we're trying to stay focused on the breath, and that monkey mind is just jumping around the cage, grasping at everything. So traditionally, this is the best way for dealing with that. And I find most people don't realize that they have a choice. You're not slaves to your mind, right? Remember that old proverb we often say that the mind is an excellent slave, but a terrible master, right? And this is the idea. When we're slaves to the mind and it's just thinking like crazy and dragging us all over the place, that is no proper way to try to meditate or live life. Meditation is directly trying to reverse that. Meditation is directly trying to gain mastery over the mind and thinking process. This is the reason we are meditating. And so, do it. Gain control over your mind. Master the thinking process. It's not going to happen on its own, and the mind's not going to do it on its own. The mind likes to be in charge. You're the one that has to say, in a gentle, kind way, say no. I'm not going to let my mind think about all these things. I'm going to develop this effort. And the first thing we do is just the wish to have that kind of effort is the first step. Maybe the first step is even before that. Maybe the first step is what we're teaching right now, that you have the ability to say no. Just first knowing that, maybe that's the most important. And then secondly, building up that effort, building up that sense of will, that you can do it and have confidence in that. And then thirdly, we just have to practice it and habituate it. Now, in a lot of ways, this looks like you're in meditation, and so it begins at the beginning, and you say you're in meditation, your mind starts wandering, and you say to yourself, not today, I'm not doing this today, right? Today, I'm going to stay focused on the breath the best we can. We don't get too tough on ourselves, right? I'm going to do better today. That today's meditation is different from all others, that you're just not stepping into another vegetation session, right? That's the most important thing. And that's why we do the affirmations at the beginning of the meditations and the checklist. It's supposed to help you remember why you're meditating and give you that feeling. So the first thing we do in meditation is to make up our mind today is not going to be a vegetation session. Today's going to be a meditation session. And then we do our best to really, using mindfulness, we do our best to really watch the mind. And here's a couple of tips. So one of them is get really focused and try to see exactly where the mind starts to want to wander away. At first, you can't really do it, but with practice, you start to get really good at catching the mind. And for myself, I get to the point, at first you can catch some of the big things, but eventually you get to the point where you start to notice the energy that starts to arise that begins the thought. So at the beginning, the thought isn't there. At the beginning, there's an energy, and the energy is usually a bit of anxiety, right? Or laxity, but usually it's anxiety. You'll feel that energy start to grow and accumulate, and then out of that energy, the thought comes. That's how it works at the deepest level. You start to see all of the mind functions as energies, emotions and everything else. But as you can imagine, this is a very subtle thing. It takes a while to get used to it, but that's the practice of meditation, right? So by watching how thoughts arise, right? And then as soon as you catch that thought, you can practice labeling like we like to do. You can note it and say thinking and then come back again. And so, but we want to start noticing these things. And if you can develop a sense of an adventurous sense of exploration of the mind, this is so helpful. And, but again, we're coming into our meditation with some effort, right? We're committed to not vegetating this time, right? And knowing the difference between meditation and vegetation. What's the difference? One word, right effort. Out of the Eightfold Path, that one aspect, right effort, is the difference between meditation and vegetation. And through that right effort, then we have right mindfulness. And we mean proper mindfulness, right? It takes some effort, it takes some will. And then that's the only way to achieve right samadhi or right concentration, proper concentration. Okay, now I wanted to share that with you. But I also have some other things I want to share. I'm going to fill up your toolbox today. Now, the next one I wanted to talk about, what's great about having an open Sangha like we have here is that we can explore and create practices together. And for a teacher, nothing's more valuable than that. We've worked on quite a few practices together as a Sangha. Many of the new members might not know that our practice of the 4 steps of acceptance, we actually created that as a group. I had the idea, and then we molded it, and we all meditated on it and practiced it together. And we all kind of tweaked it until we have the actual practice that you see today. So I had another idea for how to help people with this same problem of not being able to develop a single-pointed concentration. And what I wanted to do, I thought it would be fun to explore it as a Sangha. When you're in Buddhism, creating new practices is not necessarily taken very well. In Buddhist traditions, your job is to teach exactly what you've been taught and no more, right? And I'm sorry, I'm a different kind of monk. I'm creative and I like to solve problems, and I think that we can create a lot of, especially nowadays, we need to create practices that work for our modern minds. And of course, the Dalai Lama gives us permission to do this. The Dalai Lama told me, he said, don't try to teach Tibetan Buddhism because you're not Tibetans. You need to create a Buddhism for yourselves. And so I took that to heart, and that's what I do. I think you'd be very proud of our work. Okay, with that said, I have 2 visualizations to go with our practice. Hello, David, good to see you. and I wanted to see what you guys thought about them, and I thought we'd practice some. Now, when you're innovative, you always have the risk of failing. So that, if I was just teaching the dry old dusty stuff that was taught to me, passed down through thousands of years, I wouldn't have any danger of failing. But when we're innovative, we do. Nevertheless, I'm courageous, and I'm going to share this with everybody. So I was told by a meditation teacher a long time ago to never use meditation to escape your problems. That's not what meditation is. Don't use meditation as a form of escape. And it never rang true to me. And I sat with it a lot. And finally, I just came to the conclusion that I believe that this was terrible advice. I believe it was completely wrong. That, myself, even my name Tarpa, which, usually is translated as liberation, but technically, Tarpa actually means to escape. Tarpa is the word for escape, but it's used in the way of to escape from samsara. So they usually translate Tarpa as liberation. So Tenzin Tarpa is the holder of the teachings of how to escape samsara. But even the word escape is there. My name is escape, right? So, and the idea of, in all of the Buddhist scriptures, the idea is always there that the Buddhist path is there to escape suffering, to escape samsara. So I think that that's really wrong. And anyways, I had this idea of a meditation practice, and that instructions from that teacher always held me back from sharing it. And today I'm courageous enough to share this and to just say, I don't agree with that guy. He said a lot of things that I ended up really not agreeing with as far as meditation goes. So in this visualization, I wanted to do something where I wanted to do something I call creating a meditation cave. And I wasn't sure whether I was going to call it having a meditation room, but I thought people would misunderstand that as the physical rooms that a lot of you have. Sampo Samo, they have a meditation room. And this is a mental space in your mind. So I thought by calling it cave, it adds a little bit of clarity to it. But the idea was, I wanted people to enter into meditation in a specific way. I wanted them to create this safe and comfortable and personal space within their minds that they could come home to. That meditation wasn't just another chore on your long list of things that you have to do, that you're squeezing in between making sourdough bread and doing yoga. Oh yeah, I got to meditate. That's not meditation, right? And so, and I thought one of the reasons is people aren't getting that experience of entering this kind of sacred space in their own minds. This comes when you're an advanced meditator and you get to higher levels. It's very clearly there. But again, I'm always looking for ways to introduce these deeper topics in easier ways to people and work as a bit of a shortcut. And so I wanted to play around with this idea of creating meditation caves and see what the Sangha thinks of this. I've been doing this for a long time, and this space is there in my mind. When I meditate, there's a place that I go. And as you can imagine, if you were creating some kind of sacred space within your own mind, this could be an amazing place. It doesn't matter what it looks like. You could create it to your own likes. It could be any size or shape or color. It can be spacious and luxurious. It could be humble and cozy. But it's just a place that's yours, that you leave all your outside worries at the door. You set down your bags before you walk in, and it's your space and no one else's. This is the island that they talk about in Buddhism. Create an island, right, from the storm. We had this just yesterday in our sutra studies of the Dhammapada. Again, the connection that I was just happened to be talking about it today was very spooky. But this is the island we talk about, creating an island. It's creating an island within your own mind, right? Okay, so that's what I want to play around with a little bit today. And I want you to think about your meditation case. So anyways, we're gonna do a meditation of visualization where we're gonna create one and explore it. But it's completely up to you what this meditation cave looks like. It doesn't have to be a cave. It can be a meditation spa or mansion or room, whatever you want to call it. And maybe some of you might offer a better name for it than meditation cave. It sounds a little gloomy. Maybe it's because I've stayed in meditation caves before. That's not the visualization I use. I like just a meditation room. But nevertheless, it can be whatever you need to be for you. But it also, it's an area that's like a library, in the fact that in your meditation cave, there's no talking aloud. Right? And let alone talking, there's no thinking aloud. Now, when you go into a library, they said there's no talking aloud. You can get by with a few whispers. Nobody's going to yell at you. But if you start really talking, having a conversation, somebody's going to come over and shush you. So that's the idea here. You know, a lot of us don't have control over our talking and thinking yet. So we're kind to ourselves, but nevertheless, the idea walking into a library, you know you're not going to go in there to talk a lot and you have to whisper. Same thing is true in your meditation cave. This is a place of peace, of silence, of equanimity. Yeah? Okay. And to go along with that, I have another visualization. And now if this gets too complex, remember that it's being recorded, so you can go back and listen to it. But I think I only have 3 parts to this. The first was talking about the Eightfold Path and explaining to everyone and pointing out this very, very important thing called right effort, which is so ignored in a lot of the presentations. Secondly, we have the idea of the meditation cave. And thirdly, we have the next one, which is the puppy mind. Those who have taken our 10-week meditation program or have read our meditation and mindfulness basics text know about this analogy that we use when we're first working with the mind and calm abiding. We think about the mind as being like this cute little puppy. And we're going to train the little puppy. And we use the analogy of like paper training a puppy. And just like in meditation where we watch the breath, and as we get distracted and the mind wanders, we just gently, over and over, just keep bringing our mind back to the breath in a very gentle way. And we just have to slowly habituate the mind, because this is a very deep habit. So, of course, this is how you train little puppies for paper training, right? You put the puppy on the paper, the puppy inevitably starts to wander off. You gently and lovingly pick up the little puppy and put it back. Little puppies are too small to scold or spank. They don't understand. You train a little puppy through love and care. And so you just gently keep bringing the puppy back to the paper. This is exactly the way to start training the mind. The mind responds better to sugar than the stick, better to the carrot than the stick. The mind responds really well to love, to care. And remember, in a sense, we are our minds, so we all know this, right? And so this is how we train the mind. And in this case, we call it the puppy mind. This represents the relentless thinking mind, right? The puppy mind is that mind that just keeps wanting to think and won't stop thinking. We first train our puppy mind to stay on the breath. That's the first thing we learn in calm abiding meditation. And then slowly you get a little bit better at it. However, once the puppy's trained, we can start to put the puppy outside of our meditation cave, right? So at first, we're just trying to get the puppy to sit on the paper. Now it's growing up a bit. Now when we're in our meditation cave, we can pick up that puppy and very lovingly and nurturingly open the door, set it outside, and close the door. Inevitably, the puppy will keep sneaking back in. That's what puppies do. And you'll find that little puppy sitting at your feet thinking, right? Bringing thoughts in with you. At which point, again, you just gently pick up the puppy and put it outside in a very loving way. This is how we train in single-pointed concentration. But you have to be understanding and patient with the puppy and train it with love and care. So this is the next visualization, right? So we could start the meditation with the idea of the Eightfold Path, the Eightfold Training. Start the meditation by saying, I'm going to meditate. I'm not going to vegetate. I'm going to have the will to do it. And then we get into our calm abiding. We do our checklist. We focus on the breath, and then visually start to create that room. And we're going to do it together here in a few minutes. Create that room, create that space, right? Start focusing on the breath or the object that you choose. And then you'll notice inevitably the puppy will show up. Maybe your first few breaths, you won't be thinking, but inevitably the relentless thinking mind will show up, wagging its tail. Come on, I want to think about work. I want to think about what's on TV when we're done. And it doesn't mean to do it. It's just wagging its little tail. And you say, there, and you decide to pick up the little puppy and say, I'm meditating right now. Please stay outside and play in the yard for a little while, right? And then slowly you get better and better at it. And you find that the little puppy becomes much better trained and it can stay by itself outside without coming into the room. Okay, so in conclusion, I wanted to talk about that calm abiding is, first we talked about the puppy being paper trained, bringing the puppy back to the paper over and over again. And then once with a little bit of control has been created, then we can learn to train the puppy to be put outside and to be happy out there, right? So that's the visualization for calm abiding. And now for insight meditation, once the puppy's trained, it can sit outside well, then you're able to invite the puppy back in, right? Because what you haven't realized is the puppy being out there in the yard, it's gained a lot of insight and knowledge. And this has grown into being a very wise puppy. And so in insight meditation, we invite the puppy to come back in, but we make sure it behaves itself. We make sure that it does what we want it to do. And what we're talking about is reintroducing and bringing back the thinking mind and using it for our abilities. So what do you guys think of the visualizations? Are they pretty cool? We're going to do a meditation on them in a little bit. Does it sound interesting to you? Oh, I got a couple thumbs up. Yeah. So I've been practicing this for some time. I don't just pull this stuff out and try to sell it to you guys. I do a lot of work on it, and I've been practicing this for quite a while. I've been getting really good effects from it. David's the one that got me to start this. David was having some trouble in his meditation, and I thought, oh, I can help. I can do something to help. And okay, so do you think you understand what we talked about with right effort? Do you understand that right effort is that thing that distinguishes between meditation and vegetation, right? Vegetation, you're just, whatever the mind does, you're just going along with it. You're like You're like a boat on rapids. You're just hanging on for dear life. You're going wherever that boat takes you. Right effort is putting a rudder in the water and say, no, I am not going to go all over the place. I'm going to stay to the smoother part of the river, right? So can you see the importance of right effort? This is huge, right, for meditation. Can you see how right effort is the catalyst that allows right mindfulness to happen? Because without a sense of will, without a strength, mindfulness is just powerless, right? You think, oh, I'm supposed to try to keep my mind on my breath, Yeah. Yeah, that's the strength of mindfulness. And then that mindfulness of keeping your mind steady on the breath is what leads to samadhi. And we talk about samadhi being single-pointed concentration. What's really important to understand is samadhi is a meditative experience. It's a mental state. Single-pointed concentration isn't samadhi. Single-pointed meditation, when we settle the mind and we gather our mind is usually so fragmented. When we gather it all together and we can place it on one thing, something weird happens with our minds. The mind goes into an altered state, right? Now, again, we talked about you could be single-pointed, like in a movie, and not enter samadhi. This is a meditative thing, right? In meditation, we do this. But you enter this altered state, and it's a deep sense of presence. It's an extraordinary state of mind where it's spacious and equanimous and just extraordinary. And so single-pointed concentration isn't the goal. It's the key to samadhi. And somehow somebody figured out how this works, that if you could still the mind completely until it can stay single-pointed on one object, all of a sudden it goes into this other realm of existence or this other realm of perception called samadhi. So that's important to know. Okay, and how about the visualization of the meditation room or meditation cave? Does this sound interesting? Yeah, this place that you can use your imagination and put all your favorite pictures on the wall, and it's free. It's all free. You can make it as elaborate as you want. But imagine whenever you sit down that you have this place that you go, this safe space that you're in complete control of. Yeah, yeah. For this session, I'm trying to listen in the car driving home. Thank you, Anika. Oh, that's fine. So, anyways, I find it to be really beneficial. I could use a safe space. That's right. It's a safe space. It's a silent space. You have complete control over it, and I think it's just extraordinary. Lastly, I wanted to ask you, what about the puppy visualizations? Do you find these to be beneficial? People really liked the one we used in the 10-week meditation program. So I thought it was kind of neat to elaborate on a little bit, huh? And to learn how to, and something about setting the visualization of when you start thinking of picking up that talking dog, right, the talking puppy, and just setting him outside and saying, good girl, stay outside, and coming back in and meditating without it. Boy, it was really beneficial in my meditation. I found it really easy. It could be a river or a beach or anything. You're right, Sampo and Sangmo, but I think it works better when it's an enclosed area, because that kind of gives it the feeling of being safe. Maybe for some of you, a big open wide beach or a private beach, that nobody else knows about. Whatever gives you that feeling is fine. Yeah, I guess for me it seemed like something more intimate, like to imagine a cabin in the woods with a big fire going or something. That coziness of being, but it's up to you. It can be anything you want, and it can change anytime you want it to. You can pick different ones if your imagination is up for it. You can do all kinds of different things. Okay, so what do you think the idea of working on this as a Sangha together? Is that kind of a cool thing? So it does require some participation by all of you, right? So we can be working on it a bit this week, and we'll do some daily meditations and use it, and we can get everybody's opinions. Let me know if there's things that I didn't think about, that are any problems that come up. Let's talk about potential benefits, and if it's good, maybe we'll add it to our 10-week meditation program. Okay, so let's get to the good part. The good part is going to be a short guided meditation. So let's put what we've learned here into practice by bringing it into our insight meditation or visualization. Let's begin by muting our audio, taking our seats, and getting comfortable. Your hands can be placed on your thighs. Your eyes can be closed or half open. Begin to relax while breathing naturally through your nose. Since we've all been meditating already today, I'm going to skip our meditation affirmation, and I'm going to go right to let's go right into the 3 breaths. Look straight up at the ceiling, bend back, pull your shoulders back, open your chest, and take 3 full, lovely breaths. Of course, this opens our breathing pathways and posture while reducing our tendency to collapse forward during meditation, which is a huge problem. And when you're finished, you can lower your gaze. And let's do a short version of our 7-point checklist. Posture, hips, joy, acceptance, equanimity, awareness, and engage. Focus on your breath, switch on and let go. We'll do a few minutes of calm abiding to settle our minds before beginning our visualization. And now, while remaining in meditation, I want you to use your imagination to create your own personal meditation cave, or beach, or treehouse, or bunker, whatever you want to call it, mansion. It can be anything you desire, any color, any shape, any size. It can be humble or luxurious, spacious or cozy. What's important is that the space feels safe, comfortable, and personal. This is your own personal space and no one else's. A place where you come home to yourself. A place to rejuvenate. A place where you can leave all the problems of the world behind. A place to abide in peace, silence, and equanimity. You should think of your meditation cave as similar to a library, where talking is not permitted, and similarly, incessant habitual thinking is also not allowed. We create and maintain this inner silence by using right effort to apply right mindfulness, which results in right single-pointed concentration. Remember, no talking or thinking is allowed, so do your best to minimize it. In our analogy of the puppy mind, which represents the relentless thinking mind, we first train our puppy to stay with the breath. However, once trained, we can start to train the puppy to be outside of our meditation cave. Inevitably, the puppy will try to sneak back in, and you will find it sitting at your feet, wagging its tail. At which point you gently put the puppy back outside, which we do over and over again. Be understanding and patient with the puppy and train it with love and care. Now for the rest of this meditation practice, gently work to train the puppy to stay outside of your meditation cave. And now slowly begin to open your eyes. Take a moment to observe how you feel. As I recite our meditation dedication, as we rise from our meditation, feel joy from fulfilling our ongoing wish to develop ourselves. May we sustain throughout the day the meditative equanimity that we've cultivated. May our own peace, stability, and contentment extend to and nurture others.